Pleasant morning to all the respected guests of honors, teachers, and my dear friends. On behalf of Arihant Education Foundation, Arihant College of Arts, Commerce and Science, Pune, I, Prakriti Mishra, from class TYBA, co-coordinator for today's session, welcome you all on the third day of the international webinar on Masterclass. The webinar is jointly organized by the IQAC and Department of Computer Science. I welcome all the participants. I request Sofin Sayed Ma'am, Assistant Professor of Computer Science Department, to introduce the resource person of the day. I request Ma'am to take over the mic.
Thank you, Prakriti. Hello, everyone. A very good morning to one and all present for the today's webinar. Assistant Professor Sofin Sayed from Computer Science Department, happy to introduce today's guest speaker, Ms. Preeti Yadav. Ms. Preeti had 14 years experience as quality analyst, system analyst, and integration analyst. She was working in the field of financial and shipping logistics. Ma'am has worked with Fortune 500 companies like Wells Fargo, Ben, Ernst and Young, a few to name. She is currently working as lead analyst for e-commerce integration services. Ma'am is winner of Azure Cloud Innovation Concept. She is Azure Fundamental Certified, American Standard Certified Qualified Tester. She is BE in Electronics Engineer from Mumbai and MS in Electrical Engineering from University of California. We are pleased to have Preeti ma'am for today's session. I request all the participants to welcome ma'am. Preeti ma'am will enlighten us on Azure basics. Thank you, ma'am. We all welcome you for today's session. Thank you. Over to you, Prakriti.
Thank you, Ma'am. I request Preeti Ma'am to take over the mic for the session. I request Ma'am to take over.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks, everyone, for the warm welcome. And let me share my screen. And let me know if you guys can see my presentation. Is it visible and am I audible?
Yes, Ma'am. It's visible and you're audible as well.
Okay, great. So I guess I can start. So today I'll be going over the Microsoft Azure basics. Although Microsoft is a huge industry and Azure computing service is huge as well. But in this 1 hour, I will try to go over a few basics for the Azure fundamentals. So here I have listed a link which would take you to the Microsoft website, and it will basically give you all the details that you want to know about Azure. So probably at the end of the session, I'll try to paste this link in the chat session so that everybody has it. So today's learning objectives would be Azure cloud computing as to what is cloud computing and what is Azure cloud computing. Then we would go over some of the benefits of cloud, what are Azure regions and how globally it can be accessed. What are the different Azure cloud models out there? And lastly, some Azure cloud services. So apart from this, there is a lot to cover, like what are the different Azure solutions that... Sorry? Okay, so let's start with cloud computing. So what is cloud computing? Basically, cloud computing is providing the computer services such as, databases, networking, any storages any software apps or your web servers over the internet. And providing them over the internet, which means over the cloud, results in enabling faster innovation. It helps in getting flexible resources and also economics of scales. What does that mean is you typically, when you access these Azure computing services, you are just paying for the services that you use, and which results in lowering your operating costs, and it helps you to run your business or your company or your infrastructure more efficiently. Uh, in simpler terms, what cloud computing means is it is a way to rent your computer storage or your database or your networking from someone else's data center. And today, for us, someone else's data center would be Microsoft Azure. So, usually, when you rent these services from the cloud and you use them, you pay as you go. So what does that mean is basically you use them, you pay for the service that you have used, and when you're done using them, you give them back. You free up those resources. So you're basically only billed for whatever you use. And Microsoft Azure, commonly referred to as Azure, is a similar cloud computing service which was created by Microsoft, I think, back in 2010, for basically building, testing, deploying, managing applications and services through their own data centers. So that was basically cloud computing in a nutshell, like a definition of what cloud computing is. So now, what are the benefits of cloud computing? So some benefits would be, as I said, it's cost effective because you only pay as you go. That means you only pay for the resources that you have consumed. And that's why it is a very good pricing model when it comes to uh, being a cost effective company or a cost effective business. Second, it would be a very good scalable service. Why? Because what do you mean by scalable is basically you can increase or decrease the volume of your resources or services based upon the demand or workload at any given time. So since everything is online at given any time, you can add multiple, for example, you can add multiple resources, like let's say if you want more database or if you want more virtual machines to be added to your network, you can always increase or decrease them by just a click of button. Next is it's elastic. What does that mean is as your workload changes during the day or during any time, you can always increase or decrease your volume and the system that is using your resources. What does that mean is, for an example, let's say you develop a website and it is used worldwide, but you always realize that in the morning the traffic is very high for your on your website, and during the midday and towards the evening there is very less volume of people to be using your website. So that is when this elasticity comes into picture. So since you know what kind of people and what the traffic is, what you can do is in the morning you can add more number of resources to handle the volume of traffic, but by midday or evening you can release those extra resources that you don't want, and that way you could save a lot of money. So the other benefit is it's global. I mean, Azure has its data centers like all over the world, and it is said that even now when we are talking, they are adding data centers globally. Um, Next is high availability. What does that mean? So for Microsoft, for Azure, they have to keep up their services up and running for a longer period of time. And what does that mean is there should hardly be any downtime because they don't want to disappoint their clients. They always want to keep their clients happy, and that's why they have to keep their services up and running always with a very very minimal downtime. And how do they manage that? I'll be covering that in the later slides. Another benefit is disaster recovery. So basically, let's say you have a lot of important data that you access from one of the data centers from Azure. And you never know, due to some natural disaster or something, if something happens and the data center is affected, impacted due to those natural disasters, then there is an ability to recover from that event, and there is a way that your data can be recovered at any point of time. Even you will understand that concept a little later in my later slides. What are the other benefits? So it's reliable and secure. So why reliable and secure? Because Azure makes sure that they provide better security to their clients than any other organization can manage by themselves. So in today's session, I won't be covering the security part because again, security is a whole different concept with Azure, and it is huge in itself. But yeah, as a benefit, it's reliable and secure. The other benefit would be technical skill and requirements. So to use any resource from Azure or any resource from the cloud computing world, you really don't need to be like a very skilled professional to use it. I mean, there are many resources or many applications that you can use without being a specialized person in that field. So that's why it is easy to use. And again, as I said, it has the predictive cost considerations. So Azure has a very good ability for you guys to predict your costs for using their resources. So it's not like, hey, today I want to build a website, so I'm going to subscribe to Azure and I'm just going to pay some upfront amount. It's not like that. Azure gives you the ability, they have a calculator, a cost tool where you can add your resources, get some quotes, get an idea of how much you would be paying for the entire resource to be used, and then you can actually buy the subscription for it. So these are few of the benefits for using the Azure cloud computing. Any questions so far? I am actually not looking at the chat. Just let me see if anybody has anything. Okay, I'll just move. So I have a video here, and this video is from Azure itself. So looks like it is just for 2 minutes. So I would like to play this video for you guys. Hi, I'm Christina Warren, Senior Cloud Developer Advocate, and today we're going to be talking about Microsoft Azure, which is a free and public platform. You can use administrators.
Ma'am, video voice is not audible.
Oh, is it? Okay, hold on. Is it low or it is totally not audible?
Totally not audible.
Hmm. I am not sure why.
Actually, starting there is a voice of video. Afterwards, it's not.
Sorry, what did you say?
When you started video, na, the audio is there. After that, it will stop.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Ma'am, might be you mute your mic. Na, that time voice is gone. So please don't mute your mic.
Oh, I'm not muting my audio, so I am really not sure.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it is still not audible, then I can just skip it. I will just go back to the presentation in that case. So moving on to the Azure cloud models. So what are the three different Azure cloud models? They would be a public cloud, a private cloud, and a hybrid cloud. And I'll get into the details of what these three different clouds are. So what is this concept of cloud model? Basically, a cloud deployment model defines how and where your data is going to be stored and how, as a customer, you would access or interact with your data in the Azure cloud environment. So I had another video here, but I guess since are having some audio issues with the video, so I guess I'll just skip this one as well. Yes, I'll do that at the end. So moving to the public cloud. So what is a public cloud? A public cloud is owned by the cloud service provider, and in our case, it is Azure, who owns this cloud, and it is also called as an hosting provider. And what are the benefits of public cloud, or how does it impact when a company moves to a public cloud? So the when it comes to ownership, the ownership is basically the resources that an organization or the end user is going to use. So when it comes to ownership, there can be a complete ownership of all the infrastructure by the company itself, or the entire ownership can be by Azure Cloud by itself. And that we will discuss a little later. So what is the another benefit or the use of a public cloud? So a public cloud can be accessed by multiple end users and at the same time by multiple companies as well. So let's say if I own a company and I want to access the resource one on a cloud, and at the same time, Rupali ma'am has her own website which she wants to deploy on the cloud. So she and I can access this public cloud at the same time, and different resources will be available for us to be used. So it is global, it is public. So we just need our own credentials to log into Microsoft Azure, and then we are by ourselves independently. We can use them. Next is the availability. Again, Azure guarantees that 99% of the time their resources will be highly available. So public cloud is the most common type of cloud model which is available for the clients, the customers, or for us to be used. how do we connect? So users and organizations are typically connected to the public cloud, obviously over the internet, and it can be accessed by any web browser. So you just open your Chrome or IE browser and you go to the Azure website, log in with your credentials, get authenticated, and then you are in your Azure world. Coming back to public cloud skills, as I said earlier, the using Azure computing resources uh, need not need any highly talented or skilled specializations, but you need some technical knowledge, but not deep, in order to use those resources in public cloud. And some example of using a public cloud would be like, let's say a user wants his website or a blog up and running quickly on the www world. Then they can, without any, they don't have to worry much about the underlying infrastructure or the underlying costs or maintaining their hardware or software. They can just log on to Azure and access the necessary resource, and they can have their website up and running within no time in a public cloud. Next is private cloud. So by the name, it says a private cloud means to entirely own all the resources in that cloud. A private cloud, usually a company or a business would usually go with a private cloud under circumstances when they have some very secure data, or they want their data to be staying within their own company limits. Or let's say they have some legacy systems which nowadays do not integrate well with the current and new technologies. That is when companies like to go with the private cloud model. So a private cloud is usually owned and operated by the organization so that they can use the resources from the cloud within their own company. Uh, they create a cloud environment in their own data center. As I said, they don't want their data to go out, so they want it to stay in their own data center. And the company or the organization is basically, since they are the owners of it, they are entirely responsible for the operation and the services of those resources. So some characteristics for a private cloud would be, as I said, the ownership is completely on the organization. The hardware, when it comes to the hardware, since it is a private cloud, the organization is entirely responsible for the purchase, maintenance, and the management of the cloud hardware as well. Users, so who can access this private cloud? Obviously, not anybody can, because it is not a public cloud. So only the resources within that organization, that to whoever has got access, can only access the private cloud. Connectivity, usually it is, again, it is over the internet, but it is like an intranet thing and not an internet thing. So it is a private network, but again, the organization has to take the entire responsibility of it being highly secure. And skills. So since this is a private cloud and it is owned by the organization, they really need some deep technical skills to, as I said, set up or maintain and operate the hardware or software that is used. And example, as I said, a private cloud is used by an organization when they don't want their data to go get out of the organization, or when they think it needs to be really secure, or for some legal reasons or something. And a great example would be some medical data that they don't want to be exposed publicly. So that is when companies usually go for a private cloud model. Next is a hybrid cloud. And what is a hybrid? So obviously hybrid means it would be a combination of both public and private. And I mean, what I think and what most of the companies feel is hybrid is the best way to go because it gives you the benefits of both. For example, if you choose for a hybrid cloud, you will get the opportunity to have your important data to stay in the private cloud, while at the same time you will get the benefit of using the public cloud where, as I said, some things will be very quick. Like, for example, let's say you have your healthcare data which you want to stay in your own data center. So for a database, you can select a private cloud, but let's say that that data can be accessed by somebody online. So that website can be deployed onto a public cloud. So something like that. So the data stays in the data center, but when you want to just access it, you want to see something on the UI, you can always log in and access that from the public cloud. So a hybrid cloud combines both public and private clouds, allowing to run your applications in the most appropriate location. Some of the characteristics would be resource location. So specific resources run on the public clouds while other runs in private cloud. Cost and efficiency. So hybrid cloud models basically they give you benefit of cost because as I said, it is like a pay as you go. So some of the resources that you would use in the public cloud, you would only pay for those. While the resources that are in the private, those would be totally owned by you. And so obviously you will have to invest a lot of money in them. Then control. So when it comes to control, obviously the company or the organization would have total control on the resources in the private cloud. But yeah, public cloud, they cannot have control on them. And skills, again, it would be things that you would need to operate in the private. You would want to have some deep technical skills, but while it is on the public, you always have online resources, or you can just read up or ask for Azure Help Center and they would help you. An example of hybrid cloud usage scenario would be, again, as I said, hosting a website in the public while linking your highly secure database that is in the private cloud. Next is cloud services. So how do these cloud services integrate with these cloud models? Basically, there are three major cloud services models, which are IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, PaaS, which is obviously platform as a service, and the third one is software as a service. So what is the IaaS service? So in the infrastructure as a service, I would say a private cloud would be best option because the user or the company or the business is completely responsible for managing their own operating systems, the data, the applications, whatever it be, the virtual machines, the storage, the containers, the networking, and even the security. So usually when the company is owning all this, it is called infrastructure as a service model. And again, it is pay as you go basis, because whenever you are using a specific resource like a virtual machine, then you pay only for that virtual machine and not for any other resource. Next is the platform as a service. Here, uh, the let's say the networking and the servers and the storage and the virtual machines are taken care by the service provider, and in our case the service provider is Azure. So Azure says, hey, let me take care of those networking things, the storages. I will provide you the servers. You just care about the website that you're deploying and that the data that you want to run. So I will take care of the rest. So the goal of the platform as a service is to help create an application as quickly as possible without having to worry about managing the underlying infrastructure, because Azure is saying you don't worry about that. We are here to take care of that. So a good example is when deploying a web application using the PaaS, you don't have to install an operating system because Azure will give you that entire virtual machine with the OS on it. And you don't have to worry about the web server or even maintaining or doing any system updates. So you just have to care about the application that you're developing and the data for it. So I would say platform as a service fits well with a hybrid cloud because it can be the underlying infrastructure can be private while your web application can be public. Third is a software as a service. And software as a service is basically in today's world, you guys use Microsoft Office, right? So how do you use Microsoft Office? You just log into your Microsoft account, and your Microsoft 360 or the Microsoft Office tools, they are just available there. So that requires the least amount of ownership or management from your side. So the cloud, in this case, the cloud provider is responsible for managing everything, and the end user just uses the software. So, which is good in most of the cases because you just log in and then you have that app or you have that service available for you to use. So this is a very, I would say, cool picture which will distinguish between these three infrastructures. So IaaS, platform as a service, or the software as a service. So the green color would tell you what you as a company or as an organization would own or manage, while the blue is taken care by the Azure Computing Services. So the first column is the on-premises, which I said is a private cloud. And here it says you just basically take care of everything, like from the virtual machines to the servers to the networking to system updates to security, everything. Next column is IaaS. Here, Azure says, hey, let me provide you the storage capacity and the networking, but you take care of running your data, the application, and just the runtime. Next is PaaS, where Azure says, hey, I'm giving you the operating system, the virtual machine, all the updates to it, and you just go and deploy your website. And the last one is just the data and access, where they are asking you to only log in, not worry about any underlying infrastructure, log in and access your app. A much more simpler way to show the differences in this is, I know this slide is not very clear, but I hope you can still read what is in there. So think of it as a pizza as a service. Who doesn't like pizza, right? I mean, this would be a very simple way to distinguish between what does Azure do for you versus what you as a company can do. So the on-premises, which is the private cloud, that is making your own pizza at home. And making your own pizza at home means you buy all the ingredients, you take care of the from the scratch, the pizza dough, the cheese, the toppings, the oven, the getting your own soda, getting your own dining table, gas, electricity, everything made at home. Next is IaaS, which is take and bake service. So take and bake is basically there are some pizza places where they give you the pizza dough, they give you the toppings, they give you the base layer, the cheese, and they ask you to take it home, and then you get it home, you bake it by yourself. Now to bake it by yourself, you obviously need some electricity, the the gas, the oven. So that is your responsibility. So it is like a 50-50. Next is platform as a service. So here it is you call Domino's, you call some pizza parlor and say, hey, I need a pizza. I want to I feel like having a pizza today. Can you deliver it? So there you go. You just sit on the dining table with your soda and the pizza comes to you. And the last one is the most easiest and simplest, which is dine out. You just don't worry about anything. You just walk into a restaurant and that's it. You order and you eat your pizza. And I'm once again sorry for the quality of this slide because I had to copy it over from another deck and it I didn't do a good job at it. So that was about the three models and the three architecture services by Azure. I hope I was I mean good at explaining them. And if you have any questions, we can go over those questions at the end of the presentation. So let's move on to Azure regions. So in the starting, when we were going over the benefits, I had said it is global and it can be accessed globally. And even today, when we are talking in this webinar, Microsoft Azure would be deploying some data center somewhere. So I think currently there are like 60 regions where they already have their data centers. But Microsoft Azure is made up of data centers located around the globe. And what is a region for Azure? So Azure region is basically nothing but a geographical area on the planet, which would obviously have one minimum data center, but usually there are multiple data centers. So the requirement is minimum one data center, but there can be multiple data center. And all these data centers are like located in close proximity because for obvious reasons, like as I said, the other benefit of cloud was disaster recovery. So let's say if one of your data center has some disaster, then there is always another data center available for you to use because Azure promises that they will have high availability of their resources for anybody to use. So, um, so to come over this disaster or to avoid these system down issues, what Azure does is they create region pairs. So what are region pairs? So I'll show it to you in the next slide. But each Azure region is paired with another region, which is in the same geography. So what does it mean by same geography is they should be at least in the same continent, so such as US or Europe. And the requirement would be they should at least be 300 miles away to form a region pair. And why region pair? So let's say if there is an outage, one region out of every pair is prioritized to make sure that at least one of the data centers is restored as quickly as possible for the applications hosted in that region pair. So not always there would be a disaster or something, but let's say there are system updates, right? Even like on a daily basis on our computers, on our laptops, we keep on getting some system updates. So let's say there is a planned Azure update and they want to roll it out to a pair of regions. So to minimize that downtime and having to avoid that risk of application outage, uh, this pairing helps because they can first plan it on one of the region pair and then they can do the next one. And again, data. So data continues to reside within the same geography. So I know US has this law where they don't want their data to go outside of US, and that's why they are very strict with when it comes to the governance and the security of this region. So they usually want to pair their regions like east and west within the US. And what I mean by that is here, this is the region pairing. So if you see here, East US is paired with West US, Canada Central with Canada East, North Europe with West Europe. We have India South, India Central. And so yeah, so these different countries have their region pairs because, as I said, they want to maintain that pairing 300 miles apart. And yeah, as I said, Azure is available currently in 60 regions and in 140 countries. And I think it is one of the biggest cloud provider, or maybe the number two. I'm not sure it is if AWS is number one or Azure is number one, but yeah, Azure is growing on a daily basis, and the number of resources available in Azure is just limitless. So I think somebody asked, can we register for Microsoft Azure? Yes, anybody can because they do give you a free account. And what do you get in that free account? So you get 12 months of popular free services. And I'm sure it is a basic subscription that you would get. But yeah, anybody can register for Microsoft Azure. And I think initially you get some credit which you can use to explore, to browse, or to experiment. And I think it is for 30 days. And some of the very basic services, I am not sure which of those, but they are free. Yeah, and then I think at the end of the trial period, you can always upgrade to pay as you go pricing, which is the best feature I feel because, as I said, you don't have to pay upfront. It will give you a cost calculator to estimate how much you would be paying for the resources that you would be using. So why should I learn Microsoft Azure? Or I'm sure some of you must be very curious to know what are the career opportunities if you are Azure certified, or what are the different job profiles that you would get job into. So I would say if anybody wants to get into this Azure computing world, getting a Azure certification, and there are many certifications out there. If you just log on to the Microsoft Azure portal, you would see all those. So it would really benefit for you to get your specialized certification and get a good Azure job. So some of the technologies and the fields that you could get your certification and jobs is in development, or being a data analyst, or probably a cloud architect or a cloud developer or a cloud administrator. Even that is a good opportunity. So I would say go on to Microsoft Azure, Google it, and you would see the list of certifications that Microsoft has to offer. And what else? So some of the industries, and I think there are more than 200 or 300 industries that use Azure currently, but some of them are financial services, retail, health, gaming, and right here where I work in Seattle, I know there is Boeing is the biggest company out here which uses Azure. I work for Costco Wholesale. We use Azure. eBay, Samsung, BMW. I mean, you name it. And currently, many people, many organizations, businesses are preferring Azure because it has many benefits. I think so. This was my last slide for the presentation, but I guess we can go over any questions and answers if anybody has. Or if anybody wants me to go over any of the slide again, I'll be happy to do that. And I'm sorry, the video didn't work. I mean, the video worked, but the audio didn't work. So probably, as Rupali said, I'll just provide you guys those links in the chat. If you have a video, you can play. Your voice is breaking, Rupali. I can't hear you well. Oh no, I don't have those saved. Those are basically, yeah. Those are just web URLs, and that's why I said anybody can access those anytime. Yeah. So, one more thing here. Anybody who wants to explore Azure, they can certainly create their own free account, and it is huge. Azure is it has a very good help center, help support, and they will answer all your questions. You will find a lot to read. Their documentation is good. They have many user friendly apps, and in the starting, as they introduced me, they said I was the winner of the cloud innovative project. Well, that was my very first time when I was accessing Azure, and literally in 3 days I was able to come up with Internet of Things. I'm not sure if you guys know what is a IoT, but my project was about an IoT hub where I was trying to gather data from multiple sensors. I was trying to get the temperature um, of the current environment, and also the not just the temperature, but the moisture in the climate, and from multiple sensors, like one in this room, one outside of the building, one in our data center, one in somewhere else, and all that data I was able to gather in one place in a IoT hub, which was provided by Azure. And then in 3 days, I was able to even learn Power BI, which is a very powerful data analytical tool. And just with help of some Azure learning documents and help resource center, I was able to get my data live and running for people to see. So it is that easy. I did not need any specific skills. Obviously, you have to have some technical knowledge, but then, yeah, I would encourage everybody to at least create your own accounts and go and explore while it is free. So I think I will stop sharing here because I just need to get those URLs to you guys in the chat. But yeah, I mean, if anybody has to say something, questions, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So if you have any question answer, then this is a question answer round, and you may put your queries on the chat box or ask it on the mic by unmuting the mic. This is a question answer round.
So yes, to have your own website domain, or you can certainly use Azure, because on cloud you have the necessary resources to deploy, to develop your websites. And the other way to do that is also by spinning up a virtual machine. So let's say Azure has this virtual machine resource, and you can spin up your own virtual machine. You can have the OS that you want. You can start from the scratch. You can have as many resources as you want, the networking on it. So it is all on you if you want to spin up or start from scratch, or you just want to use some functional apps that are available for you to build and deploy your websites. GitHub. So I don't know who is that question for, but I am not the right person to share the GitHub material PDF here. And again, GitHub is a totally different topic to talk about. So nothing comes free in this world. Similarly, as I said, you just have to pay for whatever resource you would be using. So yeah, it is not free. And in the free subscription that you would get, I am very sure that it would give you the feel of how you can develop or deploy. But again, at the end of the trial, when you actually want to deploy it to the public world, it will ask you to pay for it. So yeah, even though they say it is free, I mean, after 30 days, they will start charging you for whatever you use. What other tech that you need to have along with Azure to get it? So Azure is just one thing. Uh, and as I said, certifications do help. So uh, I would say any programming language, and currently having the knowledge of working knowledge of Python, Java, .NET, C Sharp, along with Azure is a deadly combo. So if you have those skills, it is perfect to land your job in the industry. Oh,
Thank you,
thank
ma'am,
you.
for such an in-depth
Sure,
knowledge, and this will definitely help all of us in our coming days. With this,
sure.
I request Asma Patel, ma'am, Assistant Professor of Computer Science Department, to proceed with the vote of thanks. I request ma'am to take over the dice.
Thank you, Prakriti. Good morning, everyone. I, Asma Patel, is here to present the vote of thanks to the guest speaker of the today's session, Preeti Yadav Madam. Ma'am enlightened us about the Microsoft Azure and how and why it is beneficial to all of us. The session was truly beneficial for all of us. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful explanation. I thank all the participants for their patient listening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure as well to be a part of this webinar.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all the participants and especially Preeti ma'am for your worthy time and guidance. My humble request to all the participants to please turn on the cameras for a digital selfie. I request everyone to kindly turn on the cameras.
विकास रावत आहेत का?
मला माहिती आहे माझ्या भावाला जय दिलं मला पण जय एकदा तिला मला नाही पिला एकदा हा भाऊ वापस पडला हा म्हणे मला कधीच पडणार नाही का माझ्या भावाला दिलं न करण्याचं याने पण सांगितलं तुम्ही मला मागच्या जीवनात असताना पाप करतो परंतु प्रभू माझ्यानंतर आता मला प्रभू त्याच्या सोबत द्या
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and your time and participation. With this, I conclude this session, and now we begin with the valedictory function. I request Pranali Deshmukh ma'am to brief the webinar. I request ma'am to take over the dice.
Thank you, Prakriti. Good morning, one and all present here. I, Pranali Deshmukh, Assistant Professor and Coordinator of Webinar. I welcome you all again in the valedictory function of 3 days international webinar. Through this webinar, everyone get an opportunity to rethink how education should work in future, especially for how to keep providing quality higher education at this moment. Smart education shall be the innovative way to survive in the intelligent era. I feel very glad that we got a very good response from the participants for this webinar. We got almost 350 registrations from different states like Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Delhi, Jammu Kashmir, Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, West Bengal, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, and so on. And also from Germany, Nepal, Norway, Abu Dhabi, etc. To it's give me immense pleasure to present the report of this 3 days international webinar. To start with this webinar, the day one session was on the robotics, conducted by Saket Pardeshi sir. He focused on the entrepreneurship opportunities in the robotics. The day two session is on the blockchain, conducted by Manoj Joseph sir. He focused on how to start the career in the blockchain. In day three session was on the Azure basics, conducted by Preeti Yadav ma'am, and she focused on the public, private, and the hybrid clouds, and also the different services provided by this cloud and how it is beneficial for us. Everything ma'am explained in her session. These are the sessions that we conducted during these 3 days international webinar. This webinar will be completed after filling the feedback forms from all the participants. So it's my humble request to all the participants, please fill the feedback form, that link that we share into a chat box. And thank you so much. Over to you, Prakriti.
Thank you, ma'am. My humble request to I request our principal, Varji sir, to speak few words of encouragement and to give the speech.
Good morning, participants. Good morning, dear friends and my colleagues. I am really very glad that computer department of Aryan College has taken immense pleasure and pain to organize this webinar. IQC and all the colleagues of computer science department. When we complete some seminar or conferences or workshop, and when we conclude the seminar and workshop, definitely it is a very important to understand that this is just beginning of to go towards the one particular activity of knowledge building. But the real outcome will be when we complete some seminar and we learn on our own to how to develop and build the base of that knowledge and how we can develop our ability and skill to apply it. Definitely, I believe that all of you will work in that direction, and whatever knowledge has been disseminated in this seminar by the eminent experts like Mrs. Preeti Yadav madam, who has delivered her expert talk on cloud importance and its benefit, and other expert like Mr. Manoj Joseph sir, who has talked about career in blockchain, and Mr. Saket sir, who has talked about entrepreneurship opportunities and robotics. What is our purpose of this organizing seminar is to disseminate the same knowledge to the student community, because ultimately whatever we make efforts, the aim is to get the benefit to the stakeholder, and our main stakeholder is the student community, and to bridge the gap between industry, academics, and make the benefit. And in a large, you see that how industry get benefit, and when industry get benefit, our nations also get benefit. Now, if you see, especially this blockchain career, you can see that how we can develop our student competent enough to become the expert. And for that, basic what is required for them, C++, Python, JavaScript. Once they have the experience and from that vision is built, when they have to become blockchain experts, now we can encourage them to become blockchain project manager, blockchain solution architecture, blockchain UX design, blockchain quality engineer, blockchain legal consultant. Now, when I say legal consultant, if you just look at the blockchain only itself, you can see that it is not only technical people are involved in this. There are many job opportunities in legal field also. We need the human resource who understand technology as well as understand the business systems, because blockchain technology has overcome all the boundaries and it has international laws have been involved. Therefore, that type of communities and human resources required who can understand when business solutions are given and disruptions are created, how it impacts on the legal system and business system. And one is required expertise to understand and give the solutions in that. In the same is applied for cloud computing, or for that matter, any new technology. And we accept and we give the solution to the business, it has impact on society, it has impact on business system, and therefore it has impact on entire functioning organization. So one human resource is required very strong, competent enough from the technology point of view, and one human resource is required. What are the other functions of business? Let it be the marketing, let it be the operation, let it be the finance, let it be the human resource. When we are looking at these all the major four functions of the business, the competent human resource is required. For example, HR you take, the person who is supposed to recruit for the company's such expertise, he may not be expert in the particular new cutting edge technology, but he need to understand proper skill set is required to the industry, and what is the knowledge is required, and what attitude for that to cope with the industry is required. Therefore, when we are arranging such a seminar and webinar, definitely we need to explain our student, dear student, you understand this technology in perspective of this changing environment, and industry is looking the expertise from technology point of view and functional point of view of business. If we are able to make the understand student in their learning phase, definitely their career path, their directions, and their building step by step, the skill set, attitude, and knowledge will definitely help them to accept the new challenges what are the posed by disruptive technology, and that will definitely help us when students to reach the peak of their career. And when students reach the peak of career, we win because we are the one of the important stakeholder in their building career. And I hope this is our purpose to organize this webinar. And I believe that our computer science department is definitely will be one day known not only in Pune, but definitely in the nation, one of the best department, because we are a few in computer department what have been experiencing, whether the HODs, whether the other faculties, they are like a soldiers. I have been seeing that they are really hardcore academician, technician, knowledgeable with a human touch. And they have been continuously working hard to bring the cutting edge technology to the student and the stakeholders. And this attitude will definitely bring the glory to the computer science department of Aryan College. And I wish everybody who has participated, definitely they will get immensely benefited, and this feast of knowledge will definitely shape their career. And I one more time thanks the computer science department and the entire team. And I hope in coming days they will work more and more to bring this expertise across the globe on the platform, because technology has changed, cost saving has immensely reduced. Earlier, to bring this type of information, lot of transport cost was there, lot of human resource availability problem was there. Now only good gesture is required, good communication is required and there are many people who are in industry who are ready to share their knowledge because they understand social responsibility and they are ready to share their knowledge. Only we need to approach and make the list of such vast experienced people and give the platform, arrange the many webinars, and expose our faculties, students to the vast plethora of knowledge and see that how we can have impact on the student community. And when we will have positive impact as a teacher, we will success. And I strongly believe computer department I see in coming future will be the one of the best department in terms of teaching, in terms of research, in terms of industry institute interaction. I one more time thank everybody for giving me opportunity to share my views on the occasion of this valedictory function. And one more time, I congratulate for taking and toiling hard to make successful webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind and inspiring words for all of us. Your words will always be with us forever. My humble request to Sangram Kakre, sir, to proceed with the introduction of the organizing committee. I request Sangram Kakre, sir, to proceed.
Yes, thank you, Prakriti. Good morning, one and all. I, Sangram Kakade, HOD of Computer Science Department, take a privilege to congratulate Pranali Deshmukh ma'am, coordinator of this webinar and alumni president, Rupali Memane ma'am, IQAC coordinator and training and placement officer, Ankita Bankar ma'am, head of art circle, Mrudula Zadav ma'am, head of the department, hospitality studies, Devani Patil ma'am, coordinator of MSc Computer Science, Preeti Kedari ma'am, Sofin Sayed ma'am, Ruma Dhanaute ma'am, Priya Talwar ma'am, and all my colleagues for organizing a webinar on the current and recent technology. I also congratulate my students Prakriti Mishra, Kanish Kole, Sanjana Godse, and Abhishek Bansali for being part of this organizing team. I really appreciate their efforts. I am very much glad that my team have taken such an initiative to organize wonderful webinar on recent trends. As I have said earlier, that life's best lessons are not learned in the classroom, but in such an activity wherein one can explore and enhance their own skills. I further take the privilege to announce that we'll be having tab with most prominent institute, which will provide you extraordinary hands-on training on the latest technology, which are at peak in terms of their uses in the industry. ICT, IIDE, Spoken Tutorial, eBuzz, Lava Tech are few from many to mention. We are going to have this trend throughout the year, and I want a good response from you like always. Thank you very much and have a nice Sunday. Over to you, Prakriti.
Thank you so much, sir. My humble request to Ankita Bankar ma'am, coordinator of the International Webinar Masterclass, to proceed with the vote of thanks. I request ma'am to proceed with the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Prakriti. It gives me immense pleasure to propose a vote of thanks for this 3 days international webinar on Masterclass. I thank our Managing Director, Dr. Narendra Kadu sir, for always believing in us, our Academic Director, Dr. Bhushan Patil sir, for his continuous support, and our Principal, Dr. P.R. Vardje sir, for his guidance. I would like to thank IQAC Coordinator, Rupali Memane ma'am, and HOD of Computer Science Department, Sangram Kakre sir, for their constant motivation. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our webinar coordinator, Pranali Deshmukh ma'am, for organizing international webinar on the latest technology. I also would like to thank for all the staff of Arihan College for their unconditional support. Further, I would like to thank our speakers Manoj Joseph sir from Dubai, UAE, Saket Pardeshi sir from Pune, and Preeti Yadav ma'am from Seattle, USA, for outstandingly enlightening us with the knowledge they have. And I would like to extend my vote of thanks to my fellow participants without whom this webinar wouldn't have succeeded. Thank you all, and with the permission of the chair, I would conclude 3 days international webinar on Masterclass. Your certificates will be distributed shortly once you fill the feedback for the webinar, and I think feedback link will be already posted in chat box. So kindly fill the feedback form. And thank you so much. Over to you, Prakriti.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind words. With this, I request everyone once again to please turn on the cameras for a digital selfie. I request everyone to please turn on the cameras. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your worthy time and participant. With this, I conclude this session. Till then, stay home, stay safe, and please fill up the feedback forms. Thank you. I request ma'am to take over.